Dad, please. Silas is in deep trouble with some dangerous people, and Tessa's business just went completely bankrupt. We need money, Dad. We need you. Where the hell are you? My oldest son, Pierce, was sobbing so hard he could barely breathe. 12 years ago, a call like that would have torn my heart right out of my chest. I would have ruined myself to save them. But sitting there, looking out over the Mediterranean Sea with $4 million in my bank account, his tears felt like nothing more than static on a bad radio line. They thought they could bury me alive and only dig me up when they needed a check. They were about to find out that the man they abandoned died a long time ago. For over 30 years, I was Bennett Vance, the Rock, the guy who worked 60-hour weeks to make sure my 3 kids had everything. My wife, Vivian, was the heart of our home. When pancreatic cancer took her from me, the light in our house didn't just dim, it went completely out. Our children, Pierce, Tessa, and Silas, showed up for the funeral. They wept their tears, hugged my shoulders, and promised they'd be back next weekend to check on me. Then they packed their bags and flew right back to their high-flying lives in Chicago and New York. And that was the last time I ever felt like a father. I tried. God knows I tried. Every single Sunday for the first 2 years, I would get up at dawn, clean the house, and spend all morning cooking Vivian's famous pot roast. I'd set a table for 4. I'd sit there in my best shirt, staring at the front door until the food went cold and the sun went down. Before I tell you how a forgotten father found a multi-million-dollar escape hatch, I have to ask, if your own parents were sitting alone in an empty house, could you go months without calling? Let me know in the comments how often you check on your family, and tell me where in the world you're watching from today. I'm reading every single response from my new home. The voicemails I left became a pathetic routine. Hey kiddo, just checking in. Made some roast. Love you. No one called back. Weeks bled into months. Months bled into years. I became a ghost, haunting my own hallways. They didn't just drift away. They actively chose to forget I breathed the same air. Year 5 was the winter I had a minor stroke. I collapsed right there on the living room rug. I lay there for 14 hours, unable to move, staring at the ceiling, wondering if this was how it ended. I managed to crawl to the phone and call an ambulance myself. I spent 4 days in the hospital alone. The doctors asked if there was any family to call. I lied and told them my children were overseas on business. The truth? I had left them each 3 voicemails from the emergency room. Not one of them called back until 3 months later, when Silas called by mistake, thinking he was dialing his mechanic. But the absolute floor, the moment that permanently broke whatever was left of my paternal heart, was my 70th birthday. It was the 12-year mark of my isolation. I bought a single cupcake from the grocery store, stuck a candle in it, and sat at that same massive dining table. I told myself, just one text. Surely, one of them will remember. I sat there until midnight. The screen never lit up. That was the exact moment the grief died, and something cold, hard, and entirely unyielding took its place. If I was dead to them, it was time to become a ghost they could never catch. They thought they had left an old man to wither away in obscurity. They had no idea I was about to execute a disappearance that would leave them completely penniless. If you want to see exactly how a forgotten father turned the tables on his ungrateful bloodline, hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, you don't want to miss how this trap springs shut. The morning after my 70th birthday, I didn't cry. I made a pot of black coffee, sat at Vivian's old desk, and opened my filing cabinet. Decades ago, back when the kids were toddlers, I had bought a seemingly useless, rocky 30-acre plot of land about 40 miles outside the city. I had originally wanted to build a summer cabin for the family, but we never got around to it. It had just sat there, accumulating property taxes that I quietly paid every year. 2 weeks after my birthday, a certified letter arrived. A massive tech conglomerate was building a mega campus, and the state had just approved a major commercial highway expansion. The blueprint cut directly through the center of my forgotten acreage. The letter contained an initial, formal acquisition offer. When I read the number, my hands didn't even shake. $4.2 million. Cash. I didn't call a single one of my children to share the news. Why would I? They didn't have a father anymore. I hired a private wealth attorney and accepted the tech company's offer on one condition: total confidentiality and an immediate wire transfer. Next came the house, the family home where Pierce, Tessa, and Silas grew up. I put it on the market below evaluation for a quick cash sale to a commercial developer who planned to tear it down for luxury townhomes. I liquidated every asset, emptied the old college funds they never used, and closed every single bank account associated with the Vance name. I packed exactly one suitcase of clothes, my passport, and a photo of Vivienne. I didn't leave a note on the counter. I didn't leave a forwarding address. On a Tuesday morning, I locked the front door, tossed the keys in the gutter, and boarded a one-way flight to Nice, France. I had completely erased my existence from the American grid. I left them with absolutely nothing but an empty lot where their childhood used to be. If you think 12 years of total abandonment justifies a father vanishing with millions, drop the word karma in the comments right now, before we get to the devastating phone call that changed everything. Exactly 1 year later, I was sitting on my balcony overlooking the blue waters of the French Riviera, sipping an espresso. The only tie I had to my past life was a cheap, prepaid American burner phone I kept in a drawer, just curious to see if anyone would ever notice I was gone. Suddenly it buzzed. An unknown Chicago number. I slid it open. "Dad, is that you?" It was Pierce. His voice was cracked, frantic, completely stripped of the arrogant corporate tone he usually carried. "Where have you been? We've been calling your old number for a month. It says the line is disconnected. Dad, the police told us you sold the house. There are bulldozers here right now. They're tearing down Mom's old garden. Where are you?" I took a slow sip of my coffee. I didn't yell. I didn't let any anger into my voice. I just sounded like a stranger. "The house belongs to a developer now, Pierce. I sold it 14 months ago." There was a horrific silence on the line. Then came the real reason for the call. "Dad, you don't understand," Pierce stammered, weeping openly now. "Silas got involved with some incredibly shady investors for a nightclub project. He owes them over $200,000, and they're threatening his life. And Tessa's boutique franchise just collapsed. She's facing total bankruptcy and eviction. We came to the house to ask you for a loan, to ask you to help us handle this. We need money, Dad. We need you to bail us out. Please, where are you?" I looked out at the sea. A year ago, hearing that my children were suffering would have killed me. I would have handed over every dime to protect them. But looking at the water, I realized something beautiful. The man who cared about their financial disasters didn't exist anymore. They had starved him to death over 12 long, lonely years. I said, "Pierce, do you know what day it was 14 months ago when I sold that house?" He sniffled, confused. No, I don't know. It was the day after my 70th birthday," I told him, my voice smooth as ice. "The 12th birthday in a row that none of you called, texted, or visited. I sat alone for 12 years. I had a stroke alone. I ate my milestones alone. You didn't lose a father last month, Pierce. You lost me a decade ago. You just didn't notice until your own wallets ran dry. But here is the final twist. The one thing my children didn't know because they never bothered to ask about their mother's estate. Before Vivienne passed, she knew our children were becoming materialistic and distant. She left the ultimate decision of their inheritance entirely up to me. She gave me sole power of attorney over her family trust, stating that if the children proved to be absent in my old age, the entire inheritance would be dissolved or donated. I told Pierce on the phone, "I didn't just sell the house, son. I dissolved your mother's trust completely. Last week, I donated the final $500,000 of her estate to a pediatric cancer research facility in her name. There is no money. There is no backup plan. And as of right now, there is no father." Pierce screamed my name, but I didn't listen to the rest of it. I ended the call, popped the SIM card out of the burner phone, and dropped it right into the bottom of my empty espresso cup. Family isn't defined by the blood running through your veins. It's defined by the respect, love, and time you give to the people who raised you. If you treat your parents like an inconvenient afterthought, don't be surprised when you find out you've been written out of their lives completely. I gave them life, and they gave me silence. So I gave myself a future. If you believe that justice was served, and that no parent should ever be forgotten, make sure to hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell right now. We bring you the most intense, jaw-dropping real-life revenge stories every single week, and you won't want to miss our next exclusive drop. Thank you for listening, and remember, take care of the ones who love you before it's too late.